Everybody Malkus Outdoors again. I know I just threw something up about, the scheduling, and I briefly mentioned the Keith Poche thing, but I've been listening to some other people talk about it, and people that competed in the event as well, and they're chatting about how they, thought that boat should be illegal, and they thought, they're bringing up standardization of equipment, they're bringing up some questionable aspects, especially when it comes to that boat. And I wanted to give my take on it, just to give another opinion on this. I didn't compete in that, but I have competed against people that run other types of rigs. And I know there are a lot of people stand on my side of this view when it comes to, the $100,000 rig. That's not where I'm coming at it. I'm just saying, here's how my aspect of it. I am glad the prevalence of outside the box thinkers is there. I'm glad that these, people read the rules and they comply with them, but go a little bit away from the crowd and test those. That's fine with me. I've seen people run boats up over beaver dams or do things like that, or run to God knows where. I've seen people run aluminum boats so they can get in skinnier water. I've seen people run bigger boats so they can be in water that's a lot rougher. I've seen it all, and I don't see anything wrong. There is a stipulation in the rules about what kind of boat do you have to have, what you need on the boat, how big the boat is. Most tournament organizations have that. And if he complied with that, I don't see why everybody's complaining about Keith Poche, picking that boat. The funny thing is, if you take it in context, like I believe in Bass, I believe in the Opens, you can only pick one boat to compete in. Like, he can't just go grab the fiberglass boat to go out on Lake Erie or whatever. Like, he has to run that boat. So he strategically, looking at the schedule, planned to use that boat. And I believe he's done so in the past and run skinny water. I know there's Keith, Ott the Foe did something very similar, and they brought up some other rules with regards to that, utilizing that type of boat, like a tunnel hull. Which, whatever. If they change the rules, they change the rules, and you abide by them, and the rules are there. So if the rule says a 16-foot boat or whatever the case may be in a 90 horse, and you come with a 16-foot boat and a 90 horse, then nobody should be complaining about it. I know a lot of guys aren't going to go to that level of the base rules, because everybody feels like they almost need a 20-foot, 21-foot fiberglass, and you keep up with the Joneses. But hey, more power to this guy. One, strategically, because he could fish with a fiberglass boat, he owns one, by strategically choosing to go with this boat for this river system, knowing that might be his strength, or that's where he feels like in his wheelhouse. So I don't see why everybody's complaining about that. I could be complaining about, or a lot of people do, live scope, or other ethical things that give people an advantage. At one point, live scope was big, and people were complaining about it, but I was like, hey, if you can get it and use it, that's fine. You see people winning with it, but what happens when everybody else uses it? You got to find the next thing, which might be going back to old stuff. So it's kind of similar to here. It's good in a niche environment, but you can't use live scope and everything. And if everybody's using live scope, there's going to be instances where you can go shallow, or you can go do something else, or you can do what he did. So it's a game, it's a chess game, and not everybody has a fair run of it. But if you can, in certain regards, you're sacrificing your ability to compete in these other events and niche yourself in the one to win one of these things, and then do it. That's your if you have the ability, then do it. I don't see anything wrong with it. In fact, I like it. It's cool to see somebody thinking outside the box and really going at it, pulling into places, or there's a number of other cases. Somebody comes in there with a DV boat to go out on the Great Lakes or something, but then he has to compete with it in these other events. But he picked the DV boat to go out there so he can handle it a little bit better. That's cool with me too, and I like to actually see that. That's kind of an interesting way of looking at it, or whatever the case may be. But I don't see what the big deal is. One of the other things is, as long as that boat complies with the rules that are in there, I don't know why people are complaining about it to the tournament director. that doesn't make any sense to me either. Like, whatever, dude. He's within the rules, and you're trying to get him excluded from the tournament based on him complying with the rules. But it's just not a boat that looks like your boat, and it's a boat that, and every boat has its advantages. I don't even in the 20-foot space, when you go to a fiberglass versus an aluminum boat, or certain boats sit in certain water, maybe you take a, whatever the case may be, every boat has its advantages and disadvantages. Nobody's going to be on a level playing field unless you make everybody run like a Nitro Z20 or whatever it is with the same equipment. So everybody picks their tools, like essentially golf clubs in a sense. I mean, I know that's a different standardization there, but you can pick your tool, and there's nothing stopping you from hitting a 3-wood off the tee as opposed to a driver. There's nothing stopping you from running an iron off there. There's a number of different analogies. You can kind of get a gist of it. But I actually like it. That's good on Poche for identifying a way to win and making it happen, taking a huge risk, and laying it all out there. And also taking a risk for the season, because you could look at that if you had that boat and you're like, okay, well, I know I can do good on the Red River or whatever. There's a couple others, but man, if I got to compete in these other ones, I'm outclassed. I might bomb these other tournaments completely. Like next year when they have this new format, like imagine you have to finish 9 if you're trying to qualify for the Lead Series. I guess that's a preference there. And you had 9 events. And you see like a Red River event, or I think they have the Sabine on there, something like that. You're like, oh, I'm going to take this boat so I can compete very well in the Sabine. But then you also have to go to whatever, St. Lawrence. What do you do? It's like, yeah, you might be able to win one of these tournaments, but you might be potentially, because of your equipment, setting yourself up to bomb a tournament. So everything is a risk reward. And the greater risk you take, the greater probability of bombing, but also the reward might be greater. So in this, that's how I look at it. It's like, man, that guy did that. Wow, that's cool. I mean, more power to him. But man, that's risky if he has to only pick one boat to compete in all the events. Like, that's crazy in my opinion. You think that's why a lot of guys, you go with the 20-footers, like the best of both worlds. Me, I'm looking at going back to like an aluminum boat, so that if I do compete on those levels, if we go to a place where there is skinny water, where there is places, because I like to beat stuff up. So I'd like an aluminum boat. So if I go launching up over a log jam, then I'm not concerned about cracking fiberglass or how my fiberglass looks. I don't mind putting a dent in a tin boat, So anyway, I just wanted to rant a little bit about that, because it seems like there's starting to become a little bit of opposition to that, especially people that have competed or competing against that them in this tournament. And we're complaining especially about the boat. Most people are okay with the fact that he did not get out of the boat, that you can pull under there, and the guy's in shape, it looks like, or he has some muscle there. So I think that controversy is kind of laid to bed. It's more about the boat issue, and get over it, man. That's the way it is. That's how you play the game. I didn't like it when people, like, LiveScope was a cool technology. I didn't really like it. I think there's some other ethical things about the game that we need to be that people should be more complaining about, as opposed to the boat. How about throwing rocks in the guy to make it so he can't get to a spot? How about the guys that cut people off? How about the guys that see people fishing a spot, know that guy's in the top 10 or whatever, and go and might have a better boat draw the next day? Oh, crap. Just lost me. All right. Just lost me. Just lost the phone because I'm driving and sitting on this thing, and it kind of rattled out. But there's other ethical issues that are more pertinent to the sport than the boat, and that's how we conduct ourselves as anglers. That's what should be talked about. Who put the rocks there? If it's a competitor, what kind of bullshit is that? The people that show up at people's spots, the people that crowd people. All kinds of weirdness that goes on there, that has really soured me in the professional game, especially in the eastern and central part of this country. I haven't seen it as bad in the West, it seems, but it's there too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to, say that it's not, but it's really bad when you get these big fields where it's super competitive. It's a little more competitive out in the, other parts of the country than it is out in the West. And these, they're cutthroat, man. Cutthroat. I watch people just go you might be fishing there for 2 days and they know you're fishing there, and on the third day they come rolling in there as if you haven't been there. And granted, it's public water. Theoretically, legalistically, they can do that, but ethically, we don't do that. There's like a fisherman's code there. It's like, I don't know how many times I see, oh man, I'm doing really bad in a tournament, and I'm just trying to wing it. I'm trying to see if I can get back up there, and I might accidentally roll into the spot and see like the top dude in there, the top 5 guy, and I'm like, all right, well, I guess I better get out of here, because I'm not that type of guy, and that's how it used to be. You just don't do that. You stay away from people's fish that you know are there. If they found them legitimately, you try. And let's say you were fishing there and you just happened to be a top guy, which I did that in the U.S. Open this last time because I was going for broke, but I was in the area where the guy that won it, he was fishing right there. But I made sure to go around him. I didn't know it was Roy at the time, but I went around him. I made sure to stay away from him, and because I treat, even if it wasn't a guy in the top, I don't care. I'm not going to go cut him off. But I was fishing that area where he was at the entire tournament, and I knew the fish were there. I was just, off in left field. I guess when it comes to actually getting the bites, and he was doing the right thing, and I was doing the wrong thing. But I made sure to give him space, even though I was like, man, what's this guy doing over here? But it just turns out he was fishing at a different time than I was the last couple days. But anyway, that's my take on it. Like, subscribe. Talk to you later.